Welcome back to the channel. I am glad you are here for another video where we dive deep into the books and philosophies that actually change how we live. Today, we are exploring a concept that sounds incredibly simple, but is secretly one of the most difficult and transformative things you will ever do. It is a theory that bridges the gap between ancient Stoicism and modern psychological peace. Have you ever noticed that we spend about 90% of our lives trying to play a high-stakes game of The Sims, but with real people? We have a script in our heads for how our friends should act, how our boss should give feedback, and how our partners should love us. And when they deviate from that script, which they always do, we experience a total system crash. We get angry, we get anxious, and we get exhausted. But what if I told you there is a cheat code to bypass all that stress? It is not a 10-step productivity system or an expensive retreat. It is just two words: let them. Before we dive into Mel Robbins' modern take, we have to look back at the foundation. About 2,000 years ago, a guy named Epictetus, who was a slave turned philosopher, basically laid the groundwork for this entire theory. He called it the dichotomy of control. He said that some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Most of our misery comes from trying to move things from the column of things we cannot control into the column of things we think we can. We try to grab the steering wheel of other people's brains. The let them theory is essentially the modern version of this ancient wisdom. It is about acknowledging that you are the architect of your own peace, and the moment you try to manage someone else's behavior, you have handed them the keys to your happiness. Let's talk about the biological reason we do this, because understanding the brain is the first step to changing it. Humans are hardwired for control. In the wild, control meant survival. If you could control your environment, you could stay alive. But in 2026, we have redirected that survival instinct toward things that don't actually keep us alive, but do keep us miserable. We try to control what our mother-in-law thinks of our career. We try to control the speed of the car in front of us. We try to control the emotional reactions of a toxic friend. Mel Robbins argues that this is the biggest leak of personal energy in the modern world. You are walking around with a battery that is constantly at 10% because 90% of your power is being spent on people who didn't ask for your management and don't want your advice. Think about the last time you felt rejected. Maybe you found out your friends went on a trip without you, or a coworker got a promotion you wanted. Your natural instinct is to fix it, to explain yourself, or to demand an explanation. Mel Robbins shares a story about finding out her friends made plans without her, and she felt that familiar sting of rejection. But instead of spiraling, she used the mantra, let them. By letting them choose their path, she stopped being a victim of their choices. This is where existentialism kicks in. Jean-Paul Sartre famously said that hell is other people because we see ourselves through their eyes. When we let them exclude us or judge us, we are reclaiming our own existence. We are saying that your view of me is your business and not mine. The theory is divided into two essential parts. The first is let them, which means giving others the freedom to be exactly who they are, even if they are being annoying or wrong. This is the ultimate cure for social anxiety. If people want to misunderstand you, let them. If they want to judge your career choices, let them. This is not about being a doormat or being passive. It is a boundary. It is about realizing that pressure creates pushback. The more you try to control someone, the more they will resist you. In Taoism, there is a concept called Wu Wei, which means non-doing. It is not about being lazy. It is about acting with the flow of reality, rather than swimming against a massive current. When you stop wasting energy trying to force the them, you suddenly have a massive surplus of energy for the second part. Now let's apply this to the family dynamic, because that is where the most controlled drama lives. Think about your parents. We spend half our lives wishing our parents were different. We wish they were more supportive or less critical or more tech-savvy. We spend every holiday in an internal battle trying to force them to be the versions of parents we see on television. When you apply let them to your parents, you are finally growing up. You are acknowledging that they are flawed human beings with their own trauma and their own limitations. When you let them be critical without reacting, you are taking your power back. You are saying, I cannot change the weather, and I cannot change my father's personality. So let him be critical and let me be at peace. This realization alone can save you decades of resentment. Let's look at the workplace in more detail. Imagine you have a boss who is disorganized. You spend your whole day stressed out trying to organize them or worrying about their next mistake. This is the puppeteer trap. When you apply the let them theory, you accept that your boss is disorganized. You let them be messy. This doesn't mean you do a bad job. It means you stop letting their messiness occupy your brain. You focus on your work. If they fail, they fail. If the project is late, it is late. By detaching your identity from their performance, you actually become more effective because you aren't clouded by resentment. This is the radical responsibility of the self. Then there is the trap of potential. This is a big one in romantic relationships. We often fall in love with who someone could be rather than who they are. We think if I just give them enough books, or if I just explain the Stoic mindset one more time, they will finally change. But Mel Robbins is very clear here. When you are in a relationship with someone's potential, you are not in a relationship with a person. You are in a relationship with a ghost. By letting them be exactly who they are today, you finally get to see the truth. Does this person share my values? Do they treat me well? If you let them be lazy and they stay lazy, now you have the data you need to decide if you want to stay. You cannot make a real-life choice based on a version of someone that only exists in your head. The second part of the theory is let me. This is the pivot that most people miss. While let them is about release, let me is about responsibility. If your partner is consistently late and you decide to let them be late, the follow-up is let me decide what I will do with my time. Maybe let me go to the movie alone, or let me read a book while I wait. You are no longer waiting for them to change so that you can be happy. You are taking ownership of your own response. This aligns perfectly with what we discussed in ultra learning. You cannot achieve deep work or master a hard skill if your mind is cluttered with the opinions and dramas of everyone around you. Let them is the broom that clears the floor so you can actually do the work that matters. Many people fear that letting them will lead to isolation. They think if I stop controlling my friends, we will stop being friends. But the book argues the opposite. Acceptance is the foundation of a healthy relationship. When someone feels that you accept them exactly as they are, they feel safe with you. The opposite happens when you criticize or push. You end up in a constant battle for control. Letting people reveal who they are is actually a data gathering mission. If you let them be themselves, and they reveal that they are disrespectful or unkind, then you finally have the truth. And you can only make a real decision for your life based on the truth, not based on the potential version of someone you have been trying to create. We also apply this to helping others. We often try to rescue people from their own consequences. We pay their bills, we fix their mistakes, and we apologize for their behavior. Mel Robbins calls this enabling disguised as helping. If you have a sister who is terrible with money and you keep loaning her cash, you are actually robbing her of the chance to learn how to manage money. You have to let her be broke. You have to let her feel the consequences of her choices. It sounds harsh, but it is the most loving thing you can do. By letting them fall, you are giving them the opportunity to figure out how to stand back up. You are respecting their journey enough to let them experience it. This theory also works for the small stuff. The guy who cuts you off in traffic, let him. The person at the grocery store who has 20 items in the 10 items or less lane, let them. Every time you react to these small things, you are giving away a little piece of your soul. You are letting a stranger determine your heart rate and your mood for the next 20 minutes. Is that stranger really worth that much of your life? Probably not. When you say let them, you are keeping your power. You are saying that my peace of mind is more important than being right in this trivial moment. Think about the concept of social media comparison. We spend hours scrolling and feeling bad because someone else is on a beach or someone else just bought a house. We want to control how they present their lives, or we want to control how we feel about it. Let them post their highlights. Let them have their moment. Their success has absolutely nothing to do with your journey. By letting them be successful in their way, you free up the mental space to be successful in yours. You stop looking sideways and start looking forward. There is a deep connection here to the concept of the great scattering. As we get older, our friend groups naturally change. People move away, their priorities shift, and their energy levels go elsewhere. We often try to cling to these old versions of friendship. We get hurt when someone doesn't text back or doesn't show up. But if you apply let them, you accept the natural evolution of relationships. Some people are in your life for a season and some for a lifetime. When you let them drift, you make space for the people who are actually ready to meet you where you are right now. You stop fighting the tide of time and start enjoying the people who are actually standing on the shore with you. In our current era, this is more important than ever. We are constantly exposed to the curated lives of others, and we feel the pressure to compare and to compete. We want to control the narrative of what people think of us. We post photos to prove we are happy. We engage in arguments to prove we are right. But if you let them think you are boring, or let them think you are wrong, you suddenly have nothing to prove. You are free to live your life for yourself and not for the feedback loop of a digital audience. This is the ultimate form of digital stoicism. Your worth is not a public consensus. It is a private realization. Let's discuss the idea of the emotional anchor. When you are upset with someone, you are essentially tied to them by an invisible rope. If they move, you move. If they act out, you react. You are anchored to their chaos. Saying let them is like cutting that rope. It doesn't mean the chaos disappears, it just means you are no longer being dragged through it. You are floating free. You are watching the storm from the safety of the shore. This is the difference between empathy and enmeshment. You can care about someone without carrying their baggage. You can love someone without losing yourself in their dysfunction. There is also the let them theory as it applies to your own past. We spend so much time wishing we could go back and change a decision we made 5 years ago. We try to control the past, which is the most impossible task of all. Let your past self be who they were. Let them have made those mistakes. They didn't have the wisdom you have now. By letting your past self be flawed, you finally allow your current self to be free. You stop the internal trial where you are both the judge and the prisoner. You grant yourself a pardon. Let the past stay where it is. As you move forward into your next 3 days of creating, look at the people around you. Every time you feel that clench in your chest or that urge to correct someone, just whisper those 2 words. Let them. This doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. If someone treats you poorly, you can say let them be that way and let me walk away. You aren't staying in a bad situation, you are just stopping the internal argument about why the situation shouldn't be happening. It is happening. It is real. Now what are you going to do about it? That is the shift from victim to hero. Consider the impact on your physical health. Science shows that chronic stress from trying to control others leads to high cortisol levels, which damages your heart, your sleep, and your immune system. By practicing let them, you are literally prescribing yourself medicine. You are lowering your blood pressure. You are giving your nervous system a chance to move from fight or flight into rest and digest. This isn't just a philosophy, it is a survival strategy for a high-pressure world. Think about the ultimate goal of any book summary or philosophical study. It is to find a way to live with more clarity and less friction. Friction is what happens when two things rub against each other in opposition. When you try to control the world, you are creating friction. When you let them, you are removing the resistance. You are becoming like water. Water doesn't argue with the rock in the river. It simply flows around it. It lets the rock be a rock and it continues its journey to the ocean. Be the water. You will find that when you stop trying to be the puppeteer, you finally get to enjoy the show. You will have more time for your own goals and your own peace. You will be able to focus on your ultra-learning projects and your philosophy with a clear mind. This is the most powerful move you can make for your mental health and your productivity. It is the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern living. It is the realization that you are not responsible for the world, but you are entirely responsible for your corner of it. If you are a parent, let your children make mistakes. If you are a spouse, let your partner have their own moods. If you are a friend, let your friends have their own opinions. It is the greatest gift you can give anyone. The gift of being allowed to exist without being managed. And in return, you get the greatest gift of all, the gift of your own life back. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the philosophy of letting go. If you are ready to let them think what they want while you focus on your own success, then you are already ahead of the game. Let them be them. And more importantly, let you be you. This is the beginning of your new life. 2 words: infinite freedom. Let them. If you have a book that has changed your life or a philosophy you think I should dive into next, I would love to hear from you. Leave your book suggestions in the comments below. I read every single one, and I am always looking for the next great idea to break down for this channel. Stay safe and see you in the next video.